Hey there, this is Larry Chung, and I'm here with our famous Alibaba bull, Tai Chi Kang. And as some of you might know, Tai Chi Kang runs an amazing YouTube channel where he talks about all things Alibaba, the fundamentals, the politics surrounding China, and where he sees Alibaba going forward. So I just wanted to, say hi to Tai Chi Kang, and I'm glad we're meeting. We've got a lot of questions for him today regarding how he feels about Alibaba today and going forward. So before we start, Chi Kang, how are you doing today?
Hey, hi. I'm great. Currently, because we do have a 12-hour time difference, I think it's quite hard to set this meeting up. But ultimately, I think we still braved the storms and still got together, and it was good. I'm extremely glad to be on this channel.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, great. So Chi Kang, I've got some really important questions for you, which I'm sure a lot of people are very curious about. And the first question that I have is really, how did you get started with your interest in Alibaba? Like, what makes you so interested in this company to begin with? Why did you start this channel?
I think we can look at it from two folds. I think firstly because I started investing in my own personal local markets. So for those of you who do not know, I don't really have an American accent or a Canadian accent. Mine is really a hybrid of some sort of Asian mixed Chinese kind of accent. So my Singapore market is actually in Singapore. So I'm currently residing and I'm studying in Singapore. And I started off there, and the markets there weren't as aggressive. It wasn't volatile. A lot of all the appreciations were very slow, and the focus really is on a lot of dividend stocks. So then again, being young and naive and having a lot of fun, and I want to achieve greater returns and try to generate alpha, right? So I started venturing into the American markets. And then, as we all know, the COVID crash came, and there were a lot of things that started going through. And yeah, I participated in the entire big tech rally, and it was quite fun. And until then, when you started realizing that, hey, um, the valuations right now seems a bit lofty. I do not want to say, and I do not want to call out any kind of crash, because none of us are fortune tellers. But I think ultimately we really wanted to look back and think about and ask ourselves, are there really other places where we look at value companies, and there are a lot more opportunities out there. So then I started researching on other companies and started researching in other countries as well. And for those of you who do not know, I think I'm quite capable in my Chinese language as well. So reading all these sorts of Chinese news and stuff isn't really a challenge to me, and I actually do quite enjoy it. So then I was thinking, as you all know, China was like uninvestable 5 to 10 years ago. Nobody even looked at CCP because it was literally atrocious. But then after the entire after when they went through all the economic developments and stuff, then people are starting to think about, hey, why not increase our exposure and diversify our portfolio in terms of the global outreach? So then it started intriguing me. I started doing more research. And investing in China right now, I think if you were to really look at it, I think there's only two companies, Tencent and Alibaba. Please don't bash me on it. I know, of course, there's like Meituan, there's other big tech companies out there as well. But I think the first two companies that come to mind is always Tencent and Alibaba. So look, diving deep into both companies, I really, up till now, I think maybe it's my ignorance or my ability or my inability to understand Tencent as a business, which is also why I really adopted and tried to go dive a lot deeper into Alibaba, which is why I also wanted to come out and make this channel, because I realized that there was quite a lot of misinformation or lack thereof in the entire company, and how people really understood the company in particular. So that was also why one of my motivations on I just wanted to plug the gap. And if people wants to listen, then so be it. And right now I'm literally running a cult because everything I'm doing is Alibaba related, I guess.
Right. And you can count me in as one of your subscribers who, I follow almost the daily developments that you share with your audience. These days you post very frequently about various perspectives related to Alibaba, and they're very insightful. They're very insightful research videos, and I definitely think you do an incredible job at covering different angles and different perspectives of the situation. So that's great. So given where Alibaba is today and all the kind of issues that they face politically, what do you what do you think Alibaba is going to look like in a couple of years? Do you believe, Chi Kang, that Alibaba is going to be able to restore some of their relationship with the Chinese government? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great question, actually, Larry. I think a huge part of any company's valuation, I think, really depends on the sentiments and the confidence in investor by and large. Because if nobody wants to buy, if there's no demand, then who's going to prop up the price and who's going to buy the stock away from you? And in this case, I think understanding the business fundamentals is just one key aspect. I know that the company is a cash cow, it's generating tons and tons of cash flow. But regardless, if the political situation is unstable, nobody is willing to put their money inside, regardless of how much cash flow or how much money is Alibaba making. So ultimately, I think one of the fundamental reasoning I have, or one of the fundamental understanding, or something that I wish to tell all investors out there is, if you wish to invest in Chinese companies particularly, please do 2 levels of due diligence. And the first level is always on the political environment, the government, because honestly, we have to ask ourselves, it's different. The US market and the Chinese market, they're operating in totally different climates, totally different structures. So in order for us to invest in Chinese companies, I know that you might say that it's a good company, it has massive amount of tailwinds to come, but we still have to understand, are they aligned with the government? Are they aligned with the entire environment? So that said, if you ask me specifically about Alibaba's future plans, honestly speaking, the best they can do is to align themselves with the government. As long as what the government or whatever CCPs wants to achieve, regardless of whether it's common prosperity, common abundance, or whatever kind of propaganda words that they like to use, as long as they keep themselves relevant to the government, I don't see a huge problem in time to come. But that said, I think the biggest issue we see right now is that there's this knife dangling on our head. So when will it stop? Is 6 months really the deadline, or is that the time limit? I think that's the question that a lot of us are constantly asking ourselves. Will they keep to their promise? Is there more to come? What happens 2 to 3 years later if CCP comes to a round 2 and round 3? I think that's really issues that we cannot even see, or the entire Communist Party don't even have an answer for that, because they are constantly re-evaluating and recalibrating all their policies and their stances. So ultimately, I would say that Alibaba's future plans in the short term, at least in the short to medium term, it's to align and to ensure that they are parallel with the goals of what they want to achieve with the country. But in the much longer term, they will still have to do the company fundamentals, investing back into themselves, making sure that their ROI is decent, they expand properly and they use their money properly. And I think that's the main concern, or the main trajectory that Alibaba should be looking at right now.
Right, absolutely. So as you remember, when Alibaba's IPO got pulled late last year, that was the beginning of the end of the bull market in Alibaba shares, right?
Yes.
And since then, earlier this year, Alibaba got hit with a record fine related to anti-monopolistic behavior, right? So
yes.
So Chi Kang, do you believe that it is possible that in the future China attempts to break up Alibaba? Do you believe that's one of the reasons that investors have discounted the shares to the point where they are today? Do you think that's one of the possible bearish forces from earlier?
I think actually that's a very valid concern, because a lot of them have been saying that, hey, CCP wants to maintain control. They do not want companies to be too bigger than the government entity, or bigger than anyone or any person. So this idea of breaking them up, like, oh, you want to bring Ant Financials out of Alibaba, they want to bring the cloud computing or AliCloud out of Alibaba. I think those are really valid concerns. But up to now, I would not believe fundamentally that they want to break them up. I think on 2 points. The first point is, from my own understanding, I think China is a very ambitious country. They want to achieve a lot. And one of the videos that I shared recently, based off one of my Singapore foreign minister, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, he did state that China has been humiliated, and he did use the word humiliated, for the last 200-300 years, even though they have a very rich history and culture. So I think they are really not in the position to want to be continuously in that position, or in that position of weakness and to allow you to budge and to allow you to just bully your way through. And in order for them to be a much stronger country, and in order for them to be well respected in the entire world arena, I think having big companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, those are core tenants in ensuring that people gives respect, people gives due respect in understanding your capabilities and your prowess as a country, because essentially they are your, I would say, your ambassadors of the country. Hey, you see that, oh, at Tencent now, who knows, it might be $1 trillion company soon. Oh, Tencent, which is $1 trillion company coming out of China. Investors might have different types of opinions and outlook of the entire country. So that's the first point. I think on the second point, on whether there's a breaking up of Alibaba, I think there's a very big issue with how the management team intends to take on the different regulations to come. So if they continuously obey to what or be obedient to whatever regulations are to come, and they abide accordingly. So for example, like Ant Financials, when they're slapped with regulation and they're saying that they're doing frivolous lending, they're not being regulated like a bank, but they're operating like a bank and stuff like that. I think all those are very sensible considerations from the CCP. They do not want an 08 in the making again in China. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that the Evergrande kerfuffle in China right now is causing a very big problem. And it's pushing a lot of strains and stress on the entire financial system. So I think that's one key concern that the CCP has in mind. And if Alibaba continuously disobey and they don't care, they just want to earn that quick profit or that short-term unsustainable runs, then sure, why not? I would have to go in and stop you from doing from you putting us at risk, or us, I mean the entire country at risk. So that's when I would believe that they will go down hard on them. But if not, I think if they're playing by the rules, I don't see that this bear thesis playing out, to be honest, about breaking up the company by and large.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good insight there. So Chi Keng, I'm sure when you study Alibaba, you also most likely, I know you have paid a lot of attention to, the news surrounding Jack Ma, because he plays a very important piece to the entire puzzle, right? So what is your opinion on Jack Ma's, recent being low profile, not being out in the public, right? What is your opinion on Jack Ma's influence on Alibaba's, I guess, number one, share price, and number two, how Jack Ma's presence might even influence sentiment around the Chinese internet sector? What's your take there?
I think more often than not, a lot of all these media outlets or whoever that is discussing about the entire issue, they tend to credit Jack Ma a lot. Like the 2.8 billion, they say that it's because of his fiery speech. Without his fiery speech, they might not be fined that much. I would like to give credit to that kind of opinion or that statement, but I would still believe that if you were to really look into why are they fined, they were practicing this entire idea of 二选一. So in English, it's called 2 choose 1. I think this entire idea of trying to restrict your competition, saying that you only can use my platform and not other people's platform, it's fundamentally against market forces. It's essentially just trying to force people to not participate in the market. And they ought to be fine. But the problem is 2.8 billion too much? I think that's really an answer. That's really a question that we have no answers to, because the entire thing has happened. And right now, I think Jack Ma has already, he kept a very low profile. He stepped out, and he even have less than 5% of Alibaba's outstanding stake right now. He's not even on the SEC filing anymore. So of course, Jack Ma will probably go down in history about the face of Alibaba. He will still retain that reputation and his own, his wealth that he managed to acquire from Alibaba. But that said, I think it's time to move on, I guess. But I myself am guilty about it. When I make Alibaba videos, I still slap on Jack Ma's face as my poster boy. But I do understand that because Jack Ma is synonymous to Alibaba. But ultimately, the new management team has taken over. Daniel is doing a pretty good job in trying to answer to a lot of all these like defamation suits about all this sexual assault things and stuff like that. So we should focus more back into the business rather than be too concerned about what is Jack Ma doing and how he's been living his life. I think he's done a pretty good job for the last 20 odd years already.
That makes sense. So in the last month, in August, Alibaba shares got pummeled, as you know. In August, Alibaba shares got pummeled, with the last week of the month having, the beginning of a hopefully a prolonged recovery. So, how do you feel right now, Chi-Keng, about Alibaba? Do you feel more bullish than you did before? Are you a little bit more cautious, or are you, a little bit more, for example, skeptical of their prospects? How do you feel right now? Like after the latest round of regulations this summer, how is your psychological positioning towards Alibaba?
Okay, I think in terms of asking me, I believe we all are kind of invested. So of course we are definitely kind of affected by our position. But I would just like to say, if you want me to describe my current psychological position, it will probably be cautiously optimistic. I'm still extremely optimistic about the entire outlook, and how am I so bullish about betting on China and betting on Alibaba particularly. But there's an issue that there are a lot of question marks right now. So even though I like to say that we have to understand about the CCP, we have to understand about Chairman Xi, and we have to understand about the political environment, there is still a huge part of it that is left to uncertainty. And as we all know, when there's uncertainty, there's always volatility in the share price. So at this current beaten down price, of course, I'm excited. If I do have extra cash flow, I'm still continuously buying in. But that said, you still have to always understand your own risk profile and manage your positions and sizing appropriately. Don't go in thinking that, hey, Alibaba's the steal of the century, I'm just going to go all in and start mortgaging my house and stuff. I think that there's still a very fine line. I think there's still a very fine line in trying to track carefully in terms of a position and sizing. So yeah. I still remain optimistic.
Okay, absolutely. So optimistic, cautiously optimistic, making sure that positions are sized accordingly, and so that people fall well within their risk tolerance. Excellent. Yes. So for people who are just learning about Alibaba today, right? Because you have created a channel dedicated to Alibaba. By the way, for those of us who are watching right now, just as a reminder, Chi-Keng runs an incredible YouTube channel on Alibaba. But Chi-Keng, what kind of advice would you have for people who are trying to learn about investing in Alibaba for the first time? What kind of information do you believe they should start with first? In other words, you run a YouTube channel on Alibaba. You have a lot of videos on it. Which one of your videos do you think that people should watch first, right? What is the first layer of learning for this company? Is it understanding the IPO situation, learning the history? Or is it trying to understand the political climate? Is it trying to do a DCF, right? In your opinion, what is the most practical way to learn about this company if someone is new to this name?
I think that's actually a very good question, because I believe a lot of my viewers out there, like yourself, I think quite a lot of us are kind of seasoned investors. We kind of know what we are getting into, know how to do our own DCF, we know how to do our own valuation metrics and stuff. I think if you're a new investor stepping in, then you would still have to ask yourself, why are you interested in Alibaba in the first place? Are you interested because you want to invest in China? Or is it because you want to participate in the e-commerce industry or whatever? So that's ultimately, that's a very fundamental question you have to ask yourself. So if you're a new investor that's walking into this entire investment, I would actually not recommend you to watch my channel, to be honest, because a lot of my videos are built onto previous knowledge, and I don't usually cover back the foundational understanding. So I just go on and move on. I think that's also a very big issue in trying to attract new audience, because I always see the same few people coming in. But understanding the business as a fundamental, I think that's one point. And number two is the political environment. So understanding the business, I think, I'm not too sure whether you heard of this channel before called New Money. I think
New Money?
Yeah, New Money.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I think he did a few videos, a few three-part or four-part series on Alibaba. I think he covered it perfectly. I couldn't put it better. His understanding of the Iron Triangle, about how is it important for us to achieve as an e-commerce industry. And I think the other part is he's talking about why super investors are buying into Alibaba as well. So I think in his small mini series, it really covers the basics and the fundamentals of Alibaba as a company. Then after understanding that, and if you're still interested, then you can come over to my channel and watch me start speaking about it in more nuanced way, where I start talking about the political environment, talking about the different relationships with the suppliers and how they're supposed to build the entire ecosystem. I think I wouldn't be a very good starting or building block for you to build your knowledge in Alibaba. I think that's something that I have to qualify. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So to summarize what Chee-Khang just said, he's basically saying, if we think about learning in terms of the foundational information, other channels are a little bit more, I guess, basic when they talk about those details. And your detail is for people who know much more about the company, follow it much more closely, and you have much more tactical new updates rather than just the background basic information. Absolutely. So that's very good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say that it's basic, but they're a lot more friendly in terms of how they construe or how they design the entire content and the videos. Because a lot of times I just assume a lot of things that you already know. So what happened to NIPO? Why did they pull the plug? That there's an issue with the financial system. All these are considered like, to me, background knowledge when I try to film my videos. But I think a lot, I think not only New Money, if I'm not wrong, Investing with Tom, he also runs a kind of like an Alibaba related channel where he tried to segue his videos into very nice portions and very much easier to digest. Because a lot of my updates are like incremental updates and I just keep stacking up the knowledge. So mine isn't really the best type of content for someone that is just new to Alibaba to consume.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I'm a fan of your channel. I have the post notifications turned on.
Oh, great.
Yeah, whenever you have a video. So I guess my last question is, Alibaba is one of the crown jewels of China, along with Tencent. So what is your long-term vision for your channel? Is it to continue to be the expert in all things Alibaba, or is your channel going to transform into something else? What is your take on your plan for your channel, Chee-Khang?
I think honestly, we are all kind of restricted by our circumstances.
Okay.
I think that honestly, for me personally, I don't really have a very long-term strategic goal where I would like to bring the entire channel to, because I'm just going as it is, and I'm currently still studying. For those of you who do not know, I'm still studying my university undergrad degree. So ultimately, it's subjected to a lot of and it's contingent to a lot of circumstances and how much time I'm able to make, how much more research I'm able to do, and understanding another big company like Tencent is no easy task. I think for those of you who intended to do a deep dive into the entire company itself, you'll know that, well, they have their WeChat system, they have their what else? They have their gaming arm, they have their investment portfolio, and how are you going to value all these different sub-businesses and business units in the entire company? So of course, I also do not want to go out there and spread misinformation and stuff. So until I'm comfortable, I would definitely be looking into trying to expand. I wouldn't say circle of competence because it's kind of all in the same basket of industries, but really to have a deeper appreciation and understanding of all these different companies as well before I make an opinion. But of course, I do have a few companies I have on my portfolio. For those of you who are interested, quick plug, you can go into one of my videos to watch it. You can just search portfolio. But I think ultimately, right now, the main focus is still kept on Alibaba because it's easier to just follow one company's update and news and continuously make further contents on it, compared to really diversifying in this way in terms of content engagement and content outreach.
Absolutely, yeah. And my final question is this. So my professional background was in investment management. That's how I got the CFA charter. Right now, I'm a local entrepreneur here in Boston, Massachusetts. What is your career plan, Chee-Khang? I've always been interested. So you're in university now. You probably study finance. You run a channel where you talk about fundamental and political analysis on a company, and you're very thorough about it. What is your career plan? Are you hoping to work in an investment management firm? Are you hoping to be like a research analyst? Well, I'm curious, and I'm sure our audience is curious too, because you've never talked about it on your channel. What is your career plan? If you want to share, if you want to share.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Honestly, if I were to touch my heart and I'll ask myself right now, I can summarize it as I don't know. I think there's a very big issue here, as I don't really know where I'm going to. Yeah, and by the way, I'm doing an accounting and finance degree.
Okay.
It's kind of bread and butter and part and parcel in my entire studies and how I approach how to value companies, what are the corporate actions and stuff like that. So we do take modules on that. So it really cuts down on a lot of the research time and the laying the foundations of trying to understand the stock market better. But ultimately, my career path, I'm open to suggestions though. Do you have any suggestions for me?
Yeah. So when I think about this is my opinion. So I used to work in investment management. I worked in both public fixed income. I had experience in equities, and I also did macroeconomic research. And when I think about your channel, the topics that you talk about, I can see you potentially working as like a China research analyst, covering the internet sector in China, right? I'm sure a lot of asset management firms have that kind of role. And so when I think about your channel and I think about your college and what you're majoring in, it makes a lot of sense in my eyes. But of course, right, like you want to do something that you're passionate about, because sometimes the job and what you actually want to do may or may not align, right? Like here on your own platform where you're building your audience, you get to talk about what you care about, right? In a job, sometimes you might not get to do the things that you want to do. All jobs are fantastic, but not everybody has that privilege to work on what they want to do. They have to work on what they are assigned to do. So
understand. I think that's ultimately the pros and cons that we all have to weigh, right? But I guess I think my choices are still up there, and I don't really have an offer, or I don't really have a very clear direction in where I want to go into in the next 2 or 3 years or so, because I graduate in 2 years time. I guess I still do have the time to try to knock around and understand a little bit more.
Yeah, plenty of time. Yeah. Awesome. Well, my friends on YouTube, this was the awesome Tae-Chi Kang, and once again, he runs an incredible channel on all aspects of Alibaba. So make sure to follow him on Tae-Chi Kang on YouTube, and you can find his profile in the description below. So Chi Kang, awesome, and hope you get excellent grades this semester back in college, and we'll see you back on YouTube with all your updates on Alibaba.
Thanks. I'm extremely thankful for this opportunity to be here as well, to have this discussion with you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.